So now let's think about like body hair. That's quite a big topic, specifically again, I think in our community. What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, clearly, I cut my hair, and I don't remove my hair. So I think it's really mixed, isn't it? I suppose that's how I feel comfortable. And then obviously it is against Sikhi. But I suppose, like, obviously, I still am Sikh, and I still believe. I suppose I'm not at that part in my journey yet, if that makes sense. Who knows if I'll ever be? Hopefully, one day I will be. But at the moment, I'm not, and that's okay. It doesn't make me any less Sikh than anyone else. You know, I still believe, I still have faith. You know, I still do my prayers at night, in the morning. Yes, I think it's really mixed. And obviously, some people might not agree with that, and that's okay. You know, space for both opinions. Yes, I don't know what you guys think.
I think I totally agree with that. Like, I'm the same. I think for me as well, like growing up, like all my family cut their hair, so like I never had that person to look for, like they're keeping their hair, so I should as well. Like I think all my aunties, uncles, everyone cuts their hair. So I think being young, I just thought that was the norm to do.
Yeah, I do think again, like yeah, the people around us, and like I always think about media. Like I was saying that on Instagram, probably like a year ago, someone showed like their armpit hair. A woman showed their armpit hair, and like the comments were just vile. They were just really vile, and I just thought, like, where does this come from, that you have to be completely hairless? You know, the hair on your body's there for a reason. Like Maharaj talks about, like each hair has like a vibration, and so to do something with it, you know, it is meaningful. So, you know, and I say this knowing that, like, that's my understanding what Maharaj says, but I also know that like, gosh, some people, like, it's really hard. Like, I can't even imagine what it might be like in this dominant culture that we live in, where hairless is good, to then let your hair grow on parts of your body that you know, I keep my hair, but you don't see that. Like, my legs are covered, my arms are covered, you don't see that. And I really respect people who are brave enough to wear kind of sleeveless shirts and tops, and they can just do that. But I've actually never felt like I could, because I just think it's pointless to then, you know, have that kind of conversation with people who just don't get it.
Yeah, we've been brainwashed, really, haven't we, through like media and society standards and like Western standards. And I think that has travelled through like generations, hasn't it? And I suppose it's that culture versus religion thing again, isn't it? Sometimes, you know, culture takes over more than religion, unfortunately. Yeah, and it can be difficult, can't it, to like balance it out as well.
I think talking about bodily hair, like I removed my hair, but I remember it was only a couple of weeks ago, I went to get my antibody test for COVID, and I didn't shave my arms that day, and I was thinking, oh my god, my arms are hairy. But it's like, other people aren't going to like think, oh my god, look at her arms, are so hairy. It's just like a personal thought.
Yeah. And I can guarantee, Katrina, that my arms are definitely hairier than yours, but I probably don't have that thought because I've never done anything with it. So in a way, like, I like absolutely, like, the things around us like prime us, our thinking, we know that, but because I remember, like, so I took on quite young actually, and so I've never done anything with my hair, and I do think if that's like a better way, like if it happens, obviously everyone's on their own journey, but I think once you start like cutting your hair, as an example, it does feel like, and I'm talking about this as someone who hasn't done it, so I could be completely wrong, but it feels like it's much harder then to stop and then to be okay with what happened naturally, whereas I've never done it, so I've never known anything different.
Yeah, I think definitely, like, yeah, definitely, because I remember I think it was in high school, like I was really paranoid about, you know, the hair on the sides of my face, and looking back, there's nothing wrong with it. It was just so natural, like it just looked normal. But that's it. I had gone to the eyebrow place and I decided I wanted to get it waxed. And I think since then, that's the thing though, because it obviously grows back different then, and it's almost like you have to keep on top of it. Otherwise, it almost like looks worse then. And that, I really do regret it. I regret like even touching it and being so self-conscious about it, kind of thing. Because I think, like I said, if I didn't start in the first place, I wouldn't be doing it now, like how many years later kind of thing.
I don't know if I regret mine, but I can vividly remember the first time I got my eyebrows done and my moustache waxed off. Like I looked in the mirror after and I was like, oh my god, where's my hair gone? Because obviously I'm used to seeing myself in the mirror with all my hair, and I was like looking at my eyebrows, so I remember saying I'm bald, because I was like, where is my hair gone? And then I think I was like, oh, I'm just going to let it grow back now, I'm not going to touch it. But then, like you said, like you just get into the habit of like going to the eyebrow woman every 2 to 3 weeks to get your eyebrow shape. And I think lockdown's really brought that out for me as well. I can't go to the eyebrow woman, and I'm like embracing my hairy face. So yeah.
Or embracing your normal face, Katrina, because the hairy, like that, how do we know it's hairy? Do you know, like we've got that because it's just got more hair than it might have when you know, pre-lockdown. It's like this version of hairy though, isn't it? Like, because if you, like, I think in India, like I don't think they shave that regularly, or, you know, especially like in the Bend, or at least maybe that's my family, you know, so that's their norm. Like you walk around and that's like normal, you know, that, and so it's not an issue. Whereas I think because we're surrounded by, that's like our definition of beauty and looking after yourself and self-care even, you know, looking good. But it's just how we define that. And I think sometimes we just don't have like role models or people to look up to, or people in our families, our immediate families, who maybe represent what we might want to be confident about with our bodies, and you know, how they deal with it. Because I do think it would be different if we had someone that we could connect with that just was confident, whatever body image, shape, whatever. Because even like I mentioned Adele earlier, but I always felt like she was really confident, like in herself, and then she's just had this massive weight loss, and I just think, oh, were you like a bit sad that you were a bit bigger, you know? And is that why you've done it? And I haven't read into it, but it always makes me think that you know, people weren't happy with the way that they looked. Or
I think that's the thing, like I think once you're on that kind of weight loss journey, I mean, I've read blogs and stuff, and someone spoke about how she lost all this weight, but she still felt empty and sad inside afterwards. So I think, yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Like you can keep going for your goals, keep reaching your goals, but then kind of when does it stop? When do you like stop reaching and going more forward? Like when does it ever stop? When you ever going to be finally happy and content, kind of thing? Because I think about that for myself as well. I'm like, oh yeah, but if I get to this weight, you know, if I get to a size 8, size 6 or whatever, you know, I'll be happy, all my like troubles will be solved, you know, this and this will work out. But that's probably not the case, to be honest. Yeah, I might be a bit more happier, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be like completely content as soon as I'm down to like a size 8 or 6 kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think again it's like the exterior, isn't it, that we can get quite involved in, like appearance stuff, which will have some impact, but actually it's like the interior, like what's happening internally. Let's start off with that. But because we don't, like, no one really talks about that, you know, in like kind of media. And I think again, going back to like Maraj really talks about it. You know, it's all about like, you know, internal. Obviously, like Sikhs need to look a certain way, and that kind of you know, and knowing who we represent, and like who we are, and people know who we are, so that's important as well. But it's actually like the internal stuff too, and both can play off each other, you know. So like, you know, when they say, people sometimes say like, I'm not ready to take Umrah, which means I'm not ready to then maybe stop eating meat, all that kind of stuff, you know, like stop like doing something to my hair. And then I've heard people say, well, you know, like maybe if you start looking the part, then you can feel some of it internally. So it's a bit like the chicken and the egg, which one comes first? Because, you know, you could be waiting a really long time to do something, but sometimes I think just doing it, and I'm not saying like, you know, the right answer here is you know, stop like looking after yourselves in the like eyebrows or yeah, hair or anything. I'm just saying it starts off internally, because if we're doing it for another reason, to fit in, or because people won't like us, you know, I think, well, it doesn't make us happy really, does it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I used to think like, I never used to get my sideburns removed. I used to get my eyebrows done and my moustache waxed off. And then I think like when I went to uni, I was like, oh my God, like other girls that haven't got big sideburns like me. So then I went to the eyebrow shop and got them waxed off. And now they're just like unmanageable, like craziness. And I do really regret it, just because I was looking at other people and they might naturally just not have any sideburns. But in my perception, I was like, oh my God, I need to look like other girls.
Yeah. I think most of the time other people don't even notice it. Like, no, like even thinking back to school, like similar to yourself, Katrina, I don't think people would have even noticed my sideburns. I think it was all down to me, and again, like comparing to other girls and other people in school. Yeah, I think half the time people don't even notice or say anything, do they?
Like, I have my hair down all the time. You can't even see my ears, so no one can see my sideburns.
It's true though, isn't it? And I mean, I can't even talk about the male perspective, but I'm sure there's some, you know, like, I don't know what, like, that's how ignorant I am actually about like what male and body hair. Like, I actually do know, like, you know, sometimes you can get like patches of not being able to grow hair. I know that can obviously cause a lot of distress for men. Or, you know, some teenagers as they're growing up, maybe their beard, if they're trying to grow a beard, it doesn't grow as fast. I definitely again know that can be an issue.
Yeah.
I think I've seen like some boys like take a piss at each other, like, oh, your beard's not connecting, like you got a patch. But I think that's the most that I've heard about your body hair. Like, boys' legs are like, can be so hairy, and it's just like no care in the world, just go out the house like that. And if it was like me, I'd be like, whoa, like, you just sort this out first.
Yeah,
that's so true. But funny enough, I remember the other day, like, my brother, he had like I think he had like a zippy kind of hoodie on or something. I said, oh, why you got the zip all the way to the top? He goes, because my chest is hairy. So, I don't know, it must be like some, you know, again, like I don't know much about like the male perspective, but there must be something within him like that made him zip his hoodie the way up, that he didn't want to like button it down a bit because of the hair on his chest. But
I think it's the same, because like before you said that, Kieran, I was thinking of like, you know, again, male, like men on even like South Asian Sikh men I've seen when they're doing like any like bodybuilding something, they have to be completely hairless. And so there is something about hairless is good even for men, you know, and it's like there's this like new rate, or something that new, but like this whole grooming for men, you know, and all these kits you can get, and you can go to a proper grooming place for all of that stuff. And so it seems to be like thriving even there. So I think we have a notion of what is right and wrong. I don't think our parents do, because my dad, like, he would not care. And to be fair, my brother and my husband, but like I think as we're getting kind of younger generations, I think that there is something more happening, and there's just a lot more kind of visuals of what you know a good looking man looks like.
yeah,
I guess going back to like magazines, when we spoke about women, like in a magazine you'd see like a well-groomed man, like no chest hair, like a really like, I don't know what they call it, you know, when the guys have that line,
sure.
Or like chiseled.
Yeah, like just going back to that, I feel like there probably is a pressure about men, but I don't think it's spoken about just because of backlash, really.
Because men do get like, they get it waxed here, don't they? So it's like really sharp or threaded.
I do.
Have you seen there's like you can get like a template, it's probably sound really weird, you can get a template and people like spray it on, so it looks like their hair's like sharp.
Wow.
Beard culture is a massive thing, isn't it? Like having a sharp beard and the fade and like a certain like grade on the side, and then like another grade at the top.
And do you remember, I mean, it still goes on now, doesn't it? November.
Oh, yeah.
And like beards were trendy all of a sudden. I mean, we've been like, you know, Punjabi men have been doing beards for like decades, and then all of a sudden every single color of person has got a beard. And I was like, what? And it was like the cool thing, you know, like it was just so cool. And I just thought, wow, isn't it amazing? Like something can happen like globally, and then it becomes such a trend, and then we are cool. And by we, I mean like Punjabi men with beards, and the longer the beard, the cooler you look, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, it's really just the power that, you know, I think the dominant culture has is huge.
I think going off that as well, man buns, I think, I don't know, a couple of years ago that was in, and it's like, then people like purposely grew their hair and everything just to meet a trend. But it's like, we've been doing that for like how many years, but no one would jump on that trend. So I wonder what the like difference is between that.
Yeah, and it all comes from somewhere, doesn't it? Like it's probably on some kind of catwalk at some point, because I don't know if you guys have watched The Devil Wears Prada, but it always makes me think of like that point in it where she's wearing like something really gross, and she's like, oh, I just like, or that's what they think, it's gross, and she's like, yeah, I just bought it from wherever, and then the mean woman says, actually the green was the color on this catwalk and the text pattern, blah blah blah. So it all kind of watered down and been adapted from the catwalk to like our current life. So every bit of fashion that we see now has appeared in these really like fancy catwalks or whatever, or the places that trends start off, which is generally celebrities.
Yeah, the ones with the money that can kind of go for all these surgeries and liposuction and I don't know, bum enhancements and whatnot.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.